Leo Conti's phone vibrated once, sharp, impatient, while the city outside his penthouse window blinked with Christmas lights. He glanced down, expecting a status update from security, a finance alert, anything that matched the kind of life people assumed he lived. Instead, he saw a message from Madison Carter, his secretary, and beneath her name, a line that made the air in his chest stop moving. "Look what you lost." A photo loaded. Leo didn't breathe until it fully appeared. Madison wasn't smiling in it. That was the first thing he noticed, how confident she looked without trying to perform confidence for anyone. The second thing he noticed was that the lingerie wasn't cheap or childish. It was elegant, deliberate, like she had chosen it for one specific person and meant every pixel of it. Leo's mouth twitched. Then, slowly, like he wasn't sure he was allowed to, he smiled. On the other side of the city, Madison sat on the edge of her bed with her heart trying to break out of her ribs. Her phone screen flashed the most terrifying words a person could see after making a mistake. Scene. Oh my, no, 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 no. Madison's hands flew to her face. Please tell me I didn't. She didn't even finish the sentence. Her thumbs were already stabbing at the screen, searching for an unsend, an erase, and undo my entire existence. But the message was there. Sent. Delivered. Seen. And the name at the top wasn't Ryan Blake, her ex. It was Leo Conti, her boss. Her terrifyingly composed, sharply dressed, impossible-to-read boss, who could silence a room with one look and could make her nervous just by saying, "Good morning, Madison," like it was a warning. She sprang up and paced barefoot in her tiny apartment decorated with a cheap Christmas tree she'd insisted she didn't care about. Yet somehow it had lights and a gold star on top. Okay, Madison. You can fix this, she whispered, as if logic could be summoned by fear. You can. What can you do? You can die. You can die. That's an option. Her phone buzzed again. She stopped so fast she nearly tripped. A new message from Leo. Madison stared at it like it was a bomb with a countdown. Then she opened it. Leo. I don't think this was meant for me. Her whole body went hot. A high-pitched sound tried to escape her throat, and she swallowed it like a crime. She typed with trembling fingers. Madison. I am so sorry. Please ignore. Please delete. Please pretend you never saw it. I didn't mean to. Madison. That was for someone else. Madison. I'm mortified. She hit send, then instantly wanted to throw her phone into the nearest body of water. It was Christmas Eve. She had promised herself she wouldn't think about Ryan tonight. She'd promised herself she wouldn't miss him, wouldn't replay the breakup, wouldn't imagine him laughing with his new girlfriend while Madison sat alone. So she'd done something reckless, something petty, something she would have judged any of her friends for doing. She'd put on lingerie, taken one photo, and typed, "Look what you lost," because part of her wanted him to feel a fraction of the sting she'd swallowed for weeks. And now, the sting had arrived at the worst possible address. Her phone vibrated again. Leo. I'm not ignoring it. Madison's stomach dropped. Madison. Mr. Conti. Madison. Leo. Madison. I'm so sorry. I'll resign. I'll move. I'll change my name. I'll become a lighthouse keeper. Please. She read it back and groaned. Great. Now I'm funny. That'll help. Another buzz. Leo. A lighthouse keeper? Leo. That seems dramatic. She blinked. Wait. Was he teasing her? Her fingers hovered. Madison. I'm panicking. Dramatic is all I have. Leo. Then breathe. Leo. I'm not angry, Madison. She stared at the words until her eyes stung. Not angry, not furious, not disgusted, not, we'll discuss your professionalism on Monday. Just not angry. Her shoulders lowered a fraction, like someone had loosened a tight knot around her chest. Then his next message arrived. Leo. But I am curious. Madison's breath caught again. Curiosity from Leo Conti felt like a door opening into a room she wasn't sure she should enter. She typed carefully. Madison. Curious about what? The reply came faster than she expected. Leo. About who you thought deserved to see you like that. Madison stared at the screen, heat rising up her neck. She should stop. She should put the phone down. She should take a shower, scrub off the humiliation, and pretend she didn't have hands. But Leo's words didn't feel like a threat. They felt like attention. Real attention. The kind she hadn't had in a long time. Gentle, focused, dangerous. Madison swallowed. Madison, my ex. A pause. Then, Leo. Is he worth it? Madison laughed once, short, shocked, because the idea of Leo Conti caring about her ex-boyfriend's worth was so absurd it almost reset her brain. Madison. No. She hit send before she could overthink it. Another pause. Then, Leo. Good. Madison's heart thumped so loudly she could feel it in her fingertips. Madison. Good. Leo. If you're going to be seen, it should be by someone who knows what he's looking at. Madison pressed a hand to her mouth. This wasn't happening. Leo Conti didn't flirt. Leo Conti commanded boardrooms. He negotiated with people who didn't smile. He walked through the world like rules were suggestions made for other men. And now he was in her messages, on Christmas Eve, turning her worst mistake into something that felt thrilling. She typed back, because apparently she was choosing chaos. Madison. And what exactly do you think you're looking at? The response came and her stomach flipped. Leo. Someone who's been pretending she's invisible. Madison's throat tightened. She stared down at her hands, at the soft shake in her fingers. Invisible. That word hit too close because she had spent years being reliable and efficient and low maintenance. The kind of woman people praised because she didn't demand anything. The kind of woman men dated until they found someone more exciting. Leo's next message arrived. Leo. I see you. Madison didn't move. She couldn't. Then her phone rang. Not a text. A call. From Leo Conti. Her eyes widened like a cartoon character. She didn't answer. She couldn't. Her phone stopped ringing, and instantly a text appeared. Leo. Answer. Madison let out a helpless laugh. Of course that's how you ask. She typed, Madison. I can't. I'm going to pass away. Leo. Then let me hear you pass away. She covered her face again, laughing silently into her palms. She shouldn't like this. She did. Madison finally hit accept, holding the phone away from her face like it might explode. Hello? Leo's voice slid through the speaker, low and calm, like he was already beside her. Madison. Hearing her name like that did something reckless inside her. I'm sorry, she blurted. I swear I'm not usually like this. I know, Leo said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. That's why I'm calling. Madison sat down hard on the bed. Why are you? She tried again, then stopped because there were too many questions stacked in her throat. Leo didn't rush her. He spoke like he had all the time in the world. It's Christmas Eve, he said. You're alone. Madison blinked. How do you know that? A pause. I pay attention, he said simply. Madison's cheeks heated again. That's unsettling. Leo's soft chuckle made her stomach flutter. It should be comforting, he corrected, because you don't have to be embarrassed with me. Madison stared at the twinkling lights on her tiny tree. The room smelled like vanilla candle and the faintest hint of pine. She tried to regain control. So what now? She asked, attempting a tone that sounded like a normal person. You scold me? Fire me? Make me sign a contract promising never to own lingerie again? I'm not firing you, Leo said, and I have no interest in scolding you. Then lower. I'm interested in you. Madison's breath left her in one clean exhale. There was silence on the line, not awkward, not forced, just charged. She found her voice again, smaller now. You're my boss. And you're an adult, Leo replied, and you get to choose what happens next. Choose. No pressure, no threat, no shame, just choice. Madison licked her lips, nerves snapping and settling at the same time. Okay, she whispered. What are my choices? Leo's voice stayed steady, but she heard something warmer under it. You can hang up and pretend this never happened, he said. You can block me. You can keep panicking. Madison huffed. Those aren't great options. Leo smiled into the phone. Or, she waited. Or you can tell me the truth, he said. Did you send that photo because you wanted him back? Or because you wanted to feel powerful for 10 seconds? Madison's throat tightened. That was the truth, wasn't it? She didn't want Ryan back. She wanted to feel like she mattered. She swallowed. The second one, she admitted. Leo's exhale sounded satisfied. Good, he said again, like he meant it. Then let's do it right. Madison's fingers curled into the blanket. Do what right? She asked, voice shaking. Leo's answer was calm, but it landed like a spark. Make you feel wanted, he said, without begging for it from a man who didn't deserve you. Madison closed her eyes. A dangerous thought rose in her chest. What if I let this happen? What do you want from me? She whispered. Leo didn't hesitate. I want you to stop apologizing for being desirable, he said. I want you to stop shrinking. Madison's pulse thudded. And tonight, he added softer, I want to hear you laugh again. Her eyes stung unexpectedly, because she had been so tired, so careful, so lonely. And he was right. She hadn't laughed like herself in a while. Madison's voice came out breathy. This is insane. Leo's voice warmed. You started it with look what you lost. Madison groaned. Don't quote me. I'm going to, he said, because I plan to remind you how bold you can be. She hugged a pillow to her chest, half laughing, half trembling. Then her phone buzzed with a new text, while she was still on the call. A message from an unknown number. Madison's smile faded as she read it. Unknown. You hit send on purpose. Don't lie. Her blood ran cold. She stared at the screen, unable to speak. Leo's voice came through, immediate. Madison? What happened? Madison swallowed hard. Someone knew, and whoever it was, sounded angry. She forced her voice steady. Leo, I just got a message from a number I don't recognize. A beat. Then Leo's voice dropped into something sharp, protective, all warmth gone. Read it to me, he said. Madison's fingers shook, and as she opened her mouth to speak, the unknown number sent one more line that made her stomach twist. Unknown. Tell Mr. Conti Merry Christmas. He owes me. Madison didn't realize she was holding her breath until Leo said her name again, slow, controlled, like he was pulling her back from the edge. Madison, he repeated. Stay with me. She swallowed. I'm here. Good, Leo said. Now read it. Madison's voice came out tight. It says, Tell Mr. Conti Merry Christmas. He owes me. Silence. Not the empty kind, the dangerous kind, like a door closing softly. Leo's tone didn't rise. It got quieter. Do not reply, he said. Madison's stomach clenched. Leo, who is this? Another pause, then honestly, I don't know yet. Yet. That word did something to her. It didn't scare her, it steadied her. Because it sounded like certainty. Like a promise that this wouldn't spin out of control because Leo Conti didn't allow chaos to drive. Madison hugged the pillow tighter. This is my fault, she whispered. No, Leo said immediately. This is someone taking advantage of a moment. That's different. Madison blinked. No shame, no blame. Just clarity. Leo continued, voice firm but gentle. I want you to do something for me. What? Madison asked, small. Lock your door, Leo said. Check your windows. Then tell me when you're sitting somewhere you feel safe. Madison did it quickly, moving through her apartment with trembling hands. She checked the lock twice, then pulled the curtain and looked out at the quiet street below. Normal, peaceful, Christmas lights, a couple walking a dog in a red sweater. She returned to the bed. I'm sitting, she said. I'm safe. Good, Leo said. Now listen carefully. Madison's chest tightened. Okay. I'm sending someone to sit outside your building, Leo said. Not to scare you, to make sure no one comes near your door. Madison's eyes widened. Leo, it's responsible, he cut in, calm. And it's temporary. She swallowed. You're doing this because of a text? I'm doing this because someone mentioned my name as if they know you, Leo said. And because you're important to me. Madison froze. Important. Not useful. Not efficient. Important. Her throat tightened again, and she hated how emotional she felt, how fast it was happening. Leo's voice softened slightly. I'm not going to ruin your Christmas. I'm going to protect it. Madison's lips parted, but she didn't know what to say. Leo filled the silence. And Madison? Yeah? You didn't do anything wrong by wanting to feel wanted, he said. Don't let anyone convince you otherwise. Madison blinked hard. Then, because she needed air, she forced a shaky laugh. So, I can keep my lingerie license? Leo chuckled, low, warm, and the sound curled through her like a blanket. Yes, he said, but I'm going to make one request. Madison's pulse jumped. What request? I want you to sleep, Leo said, and I want you to stop spiraling. Madison frowned. I can't just stop. You can, he said, like it was a decision she could make. Because I'm here. Her breath caught again. She hated how safe that sounded. Leo's voice turned slightly amused. And because if you don't sleep, you'll show up Monday with that stubborn crease between your eyebrows. Madison blinked. You notice that? I notice everything, Leo said, and the smile in his voice returned. Especially when it belongs to you. Madison pressed a hand to her cheek. You're impossible. Leo didn't deny it. Merry Christmas, Madison. Merry Christmas, she whispered back. The call ended. Madison sat there with her phone in her hands, staring at the tiny tree, at the lights, at the weird new shape of her night. Her mistake had turned into something thrilling, and then into something alarming. And somehow, Leo Conti had managed to hold both realities at once, desire and danger, without letting either one swallow her. Her phone buzzed again. Not the unknown number. Leo. Leo. I'll text you when my guy is outside. Leo. Try to sleep. Leo. And Madison? Leo. Don't delete the photo. Madison stared at the last line, heat rushing back into her face so fast she actually laughed out loud. You can't be serious, she muttered. Her fingers hovered, then typed. Madison. Absolutely not. Madison. I'm deleting my entire phone. Madison. I'm deleting the internet. The reply came instantly. Leo. You're adorable when you pretend you're in control. Madison clutched the pillow and buried her face in it, laughing so quietly it felt like a secret. Then another message. Leo. Here's the truth. Leo. You didn't accidentally send me desire. Leo. You accidentally sent me permission. Madison's laugh died. Her heart thudded hard. Permission. She stared at the words until her pulse slowed enough to breathe. Then, because she was apparently making reckless choices tonight, she typed the one thing she didn't know she had the courage to say. Madison. What happens if I don't take it back? The typing bubble appeared. Paused. Then, Leo. Then I stop pretending I've been able to ignore you. Madison's breath hitched, because that line made something click in her mind, something she had felt for months but never let herself name. The way Leo's gaze lingered for half a second too long. The way his voice went softer when he said her name. The way he always seemed to appear when she looked overwhelmed, handing her coffee like it was normal, like it didn't mean anything. Maybe he hadn't been cold. Maybe he'd been careful. Her phone buzzed again. Leo. My guy is outside. You're safe. Madison exhaled, shaky but relieved. She set the phone down, then picked it back up immediately like she was addicted to the feeling of Leo's attention. She typed, Madison. Thank you. A beat. Leo. I'm not doing this for thanks. Madison's stomach flipped. Oh my God, she whispered, smiling like an idiot. She typed, Madison. Then why are you doing it? Leo's reply came slower, like he was choosing words that mattered. Leo. Because I want you to stop giving your confidence to men who treat it like a toy. Leo. Because when you said, look what you lost? Leo. I realized I've been acting like I'm the one who lost something. Madison's eyes widened. Her throat tightened again. She stared at the message until her vision blurred, not from tears. She refused to cry over a text, but from the sudden weight of being seen. She typed back, "Careful. Madison. Leo. We work together. This is dangerous." The response came quick. Leo. Dangerous is letting you walk through life unloved because you're afraid of consequences. Madison's heart stuttered. Then, because she needed to laugh or she'd melt, she typed, "Madison. That was dramatic." "Are you sure you're not the lighthouse keeper?" Leo's reply made her laugh. "For real." Leo. "If I'm the lighthouse, you're the storm." Madison's cheeks heated. "Okay, that one was good," she admitted aloud. She lay back on the bed, staring at the ceiling. This wasn't just flirting anymore. This felt like two people stepping toward something they'd both avoided. Her phone buzzed again. A new message. Not Leo. The unknown number. Madison's stomach clenched as she opened it. Unknown. "Tell him to check his lobby cameras on Monday." Unknown. "I'll be there." Madison sat up so fast her head spun. Her fingers moved on instinct. She forwarded the message to Leo. 3 seconds later, her phone rang again. "Leo." She answered instantly this time. "Leo, do not go to the office alone on Monday," he said, voice steel calm. "Do you hear me?" Madison swallowed. "I hear you." "Good," Leo said. "Now tell me something." "What?" His voice softened just a fraction, like he needed to anchor her. "Where are you right now?" "In my bedroom," Madison said. "Door locked." "Good," he repeated. "Listen, I'm going to handle this." Madison's chest tightened. "What if this is because of me?" "It's not," Leo said. "It's because someone thinks they can use you to reach me." Madison's blood ran cold. "Reach you? How?" Leo didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was controlled, but the warmth was gone. "Because they think you matter," he said. Madison swallowed hard. "Leo, I won't let anyone punish you for being close to me," he said. "Close." The word landed in her chest like a hand. Then Leo added quieter, "And I won't let anyone punish me for wanting you." Madison's breath caught. She gripped the phone tighter. "Okay," she whispered. Leo exhaled. "Try to sleep." Madison forced a shaky laugh. "You keep saying that like it's possible." "It is," Leo said. "Because tomorrow morning you're going to wake up and you're going to do one thing." "What thing?" Leo's voice warmed again, slow and deliberate. "You're going to text me," he said, "and you're going to tell me what you want." Madison's pulse spiked. "Leo," she whispered, "that's not fair." "It's the fairest thing I can offer you," he said. "No pressure, no games, just truth." Madison stared at the Christmas lights on her tree, suddenly too bright. She swallowed. "What if I want something I'm not supposed to want?" Leo's answer was immediate. "Then we'll decide what kind of life we're building," he said. "One ruled by fear, or one ruled by choice." Madison's heart thudded hard. The call ended, and Madison lay there, staring at the ceiling, knowing one thing with terrifying clarity. On Monday, the office wouldn't just be an office anymore. It would be a line, and someone was coming to cross it. Monday morning arrived with a kind of brightness that felt almost rude. Madison Carter stood across the street from the Conti Group Tower, her coffee untouched in her hand, her breath fogging the cold air. The building rose clean and sharp against the winter sky, glass, steel, and power. And today, it felt like a test. Someone was coming to cross a line. Her phone buzzed. "Leo, car is pulling up behind you. Don't turn around like you're being kidnapped. Walk normally." Madison's lips twitched despite the tightness in her chest. She didn't look back. She didn't want the entire sidewalk to know she had a mafia boss managing her posture. She walked. A black car eased to the curb. The rear door opened and Leo Conti stepped out like the day belonged to him. Tailored coat, calm eyes, and that quiet confidence that made everything around him seem less stable. He didn't touch her right away. He just looked at her, slow and steady, like he was checking her face for fear. You didn't sleep, he said. Madison lifted her chin. I slept. Leo's gaze dropped to the coffee cup in her hand. That coffee looks like it's been through war. Madison glanced down. The lid was dented. I might have gripped it too hard. Leo's mouth curved, faint. I noticed. His driver stayed politely still. His security detail blended into the morning like they were just men heading to work. Only Madison could feel how controlled the space became the moment Leo stood near her. She took a breath. Did you find out who it was? Leo didn't answer immediately, which was an answer in itself. Not yet, he said, and his voice was calm enough to make her believe the word yet meant soon. Madison's throat tightened. What if it's my ex? Ryan. Leo's eyes didn't harden. They sharpened. Small difference, huge impact. If it's him, Leo said, he'll regret involving you. Madison swallowed. Leo, please, no drama, no scary stuff. Leo held her gaze. You asked me for a life ruled by choice. Madison's fingers tightened around the coffee again. Yes. Then choose this, Leo said. You don't handle this alone. The words hit her with a strange warmth. She'd spent so long being the one who handled things, the one who didn't ask, the one who didn't need help. And here he was, offering it like it was normal. Leo glanced toward the lobby. Come with me. Madison hesitated for half a second. The last time she'd walked into work beside Leo, she'd been the secretary. Today it felt like she was walking in as something else, something unnamed, something dangerous and bright. They entered the tower. The lobby smelled like polished stone and winter coats. The holiday decor was subtle. White lights, a silver tree, a wreath that looked expensive enough to have a security detail of its own. Grant Miller stood near the entrance, broad-shouldered, alert, the kind of man who looked like he could carry a door if he needed to. His eyes flicked to Madison, then to Leo. Morning, Mr. Conti, Grant said, voice low. Leo didn't slow. Any movement? Grant's gaze cut toward the security monitors. Not yet. Madison tried to keep her face neutral, like she wasn't hearing words that made her pulse spike. Leo walked her toward the elevators, and people began to notice. Not because he was loud, but because he was Leo Conti. Conversations lowered, heads turned. A few employees straightened like they'd been graded. Madison felt the attention and hated how her body reacted to it. She didn't want to be seen, but part of her, some brave, reckless part, wanted everyone to know she belonged near him. The elevator doors slid open. They stepped in, alone. The second the doors closed, the air changed. Madison exhaled. Okay, this is weird. Leo leaned back against the mirrored wall, watching her like he had all the time in the world. Weird how? Madison made a face. We're standing in an elevator at 8:30 in the morning, and my boss, who should be discussing quarterly reports, knows what lingerie I own. Leo's eyes warmed, a quiet amusement flickering. I didn't say I knew what you owned. Madison stared at him. Leo. His mouth curved, just slightly. I said I received a message. Madison groaned. You are impossible. Leo's gaze dipped to her lips. It wasn't dramatic. It was subtle. And it sent a hot, unreasonable rush down her spine. Then he spoke, quiet enough that the elevator itself felt like it was listening. I meant what I said, he told her. You don't have to apologize for being wanted. Madison's heart hammered. You keep saying that like it's easy. It's not easy, Leo said. It's worth it. The elevator chimed at his floor. The doors opened. And the moment shattered. A group of employees stood outside, ready to step in. Madison snapped into professional posture automatically. Leo's expression cooled into something unreadable. They exited side by side. Madison followed Leo into the executive suite area, past glass offices and sleek hallways. She could feel her co-workers watching, pretending not to. Tessa Harper, one of the senior assistants, looked up from her desk and went very still when she saw them. Tessa's eyes widened, just a fraction, then her face smoothed into a polite smile. Good morning, Mr. Conti. Tessa said. Leo nodded once. Calm. Morning. Tessa's gaze slid to Madison, quick and curious, and Madison could almost hear the silent question. Are you okay? Are you with him? Madison forced a normal smile. Morning. She made it to her desk and set her coffee down carefully, like it was fragile. Leo stopped at his office door. He looked back at her. If anything feels off, he said, voice even, you come to me immediately. Madison nodded. Okay. His eyes held hers for one extra beat. Too long for coworkers, too intimate for a Monday morning. Then he stepped into his office. Madison sat at her desk and tried to breathe like a normal person. Her phone buzzed. A new text. Unknown number. Her stomach clenched as she opened it. Unknown. Cute entrance. You think he can protect you from your own choices? Madison's hands went cold. She stared at the message until the words blurred. Then another message arrived. Unknown. You're not the first secretary who thought she'd be special. Madison's chest tightened. Shame rose fast, hot and ugly, and for half a second she almost believed it. Almost. Then Leo's voice echoed in her mind. You get to choose. Madison forwarded the texts to Leo without thinking. 3 seconds later, his office door opened. Leo didn't storm out. He didn't create a scene. He simply appeared in the doorway like a decision, his gaze locking on her phone. Come, he said. Madison stood, legs shaky. She walked into his office. The door shut behind her with a soft click that felt louder than it should. Leo crossed the room in a few controlled steps and took her phone, not roughly, not possessively, just with certainty. His jaw tightened as he read. Madison watched his face, waiting for anger. What she saw wasn't anger. It was focus. Stay here, Leo said. Madison blinked. What? Leo set her phone down on his desk and reached for his own. Sit. Breathe. I'll handle it. Madison swallowed. Leo, who is it? Leo's eyes lifted to hers. Someone who wants you unsettled. And are they succeeding? Madison asked, voice thin. Leo stepped closer, just enough that she could smell his cologne. Clean, expensive, warm. His voice lowered. Not if you let me anchor you, he said. Madison's breath caught. Leo's gaze dropped to her hands. He noticed the tiny shake. Without making it a grand gesture, he placed his hand over hers on the edge of the desk. Warmth, steady pressure, calm. Madison's throat tightened. Leo didn't squeeze. He didn't demand. He simply held her there like he could borrow his steadiness into her body. You're safe, he said. Look at me. Madison lifted her eyes. Leo's voice softened by a single degree. This is not your fault. Madison swallowed hard. It feels like it is. I know, Leo said. And that's exactly why they're trying to make you feel it. Madison's eyes stung. Why? Leo's gaze didn't move. Because they want leverage. Madison's stomach dropped. Leverage over you? Leo's mouth tightened briefly. Yes. Madison stared at him. Leo, what did you do? His brow lifted slightly, almost amused. Do you think I'm the kind of man who collects enemies for fun? Madison let out a weak, shaky laugh. I mean, maybe. Leo's eyes warmed again for half a second. Fair. Then his expression reset into calm authority. He lifted the desk phone and pressed a button. Grant, he said, voice even, bring the lobby feed to my screen and lock the visitor elevators for 10 minutes. Madison's pulse jumped. Leo! Leo held up a finger. Just 10 minutes. Grant's voice came through the speaker. On it. Leo turned his monitor slightly. The lobby camera feed appeared, wide angle, people walking, holiday decor shimmering. Madison stared at the screen, her mouth dry. Then she saw him. Ryan Blake. He didn't look like a man coming in for a friendly conversation. He looked polished, smiling too much, eyes scanning like he was checking who was watching. He walked toward the reception desk. Grant stepped into frame. 2 other security staff shifted positions. Subtle, coordinated. Ryan said something Madison couldn't hear. Grant didn't move. Ryan's smile tightened. Leo's voice was quiet beside her. He's early. Madison's breath caught. It is him. Leo watched the screen with a calm that felt unreal. Yes. Madison's hands curled. Why would he text that? Why would he? Leo glanced at her, controlled. Because he thinks he can still reach you. Madison shook her head, barely. No. Leo looked back to the screen. Good. Grant spoke into his earpiece. Ryan's posture changed, stiffened, irritated. Then Ryan glanced upward, toward the camera, like he knew exactly where Leo was. Madison's stomach turned. Leo didn't flinch. He picked up his phone and typed with steady fingers. Madison's phone buzzed on the desk. Leo had messaged her. Leo, don't look away. Leo, watch what happens when you don't shrink. Madison's throat tightened. On the screen, Ryan's phone buzzed. Ryan checked it. His smile faded. He read. Then his eyes narrowed. He looked furious for a split second, then smoothed it into something charming again, like he was wearing a mask. He typed back. Leo's phone buzzed. Leo didn't show Madison the message. He only answered, cold and calm. Ryan read again, and his posture changed. He was no longer in control. Madison swallowed. What did you say to him? Leo's eyes stayed on the screen. That he will not contact you again. Madison's pulse jumped. And if he does? Leo finally looked at her. His voice was low, certain. Then he will learn that you are not a door he gets to open whenever he wants. Madison's breath left her in a shaky exhale. On the screen, Ryan leaned closer to Grant, talking faster now. Grant didn't move. He simply listened, then pointed toward the exit. Ryan's jaw clenched. He turned, slowly, like he wanted to make sure he was seen leaving. Before he walked out, he looked straight into the camera again, and this time his lips moved, silent but clear. See you soon. Madison's blood went cold. Leo's hand moved to the back of her chair, steadying her without making it obvious. Then, like the moment hadn't just cut through her, Leo spoke in a calm voice that somehow made her breathe again. You're coming with me tonight, he said. Madison blinked. Tonight? Leo's eyes held hers. Charity dinner, midtown, cameras, people, noise. Madison frowned, confused. How does that help? Leo's mouth curved faintly. Because Ryan likes shadows. Madison swallowed. And you want light. I want witnesses, Leo said simply. And I want you beside me in a room full of people so you understand something. Madison's pulse spiked. Understand what? Leo's gaze softened. That you don't have to be afraid of being seen, he said. Not when it's on your terms. Madison's mouth went dry. Leo, I'm your secretary. Leo's voice stayed steady, but something warmer slipped under it. And tonight, he said, you're my guest? Madison's heart hammered. She tried to speak. No sound came out. Leo watched her for a beat, then leaned closer. Close enough that his voice brushed her ear, private and calm. And before you panic, he murmured, yes, you'll look stunning. And no, I won't let anyone get near you. Madison forced a small, shaky laugh. That sounded like a threat and a compliment at the same time. Leo's eyes flicked to her mouth again. Quick, controlled. It was both, he said. Madison's cheeks heated. Leo straightened, returning to business-like calm as if he hadn't just made her entire nervous system light up. Go back to your desk, he said. Work like a normal Monday. I'll handle Ryan. Madison stared at him. How can I work like a normal Monday after this? Leo's gaze warmed, and for a second he looked less like a man in control of an empire and more like a man choosing something. Because you trust me, he said. Madison's chest tightened. She nodded once. Okay. When she stood, her knees were still unsteady. Leo's hand brushed her wrist, brief, grounding. And Madison, he said. She looked back. His voice dropped. Text me one honest thing you want. Madison's throat tightened. One thing, she whispered. Leo's eyes held hers. One, start there. Madison walked out of his office like she was carrying a secret in her chest. Back at her desk, she tried to focus on emails, schedules, invoices, anything normal. But her phone sat beside her like a heartbeat. Leo had asked her to name one honest desire, and she couldn't stop thinking about the words he'd said last night. "You accidentally sent me permission." Her phone buzzed. A message from Tessa. "Tessa, are you okay? You disappeared into his office like you were walking into a movie scene." Madison stared, then laughed quietly, covering her mouth. She typed back, "Madison, I'm fine. If I don't survive today, delete my browser history." Tessa replied instantly, "Tessa, girl, what?" Madison's cheeks burned. She deleted the thread with a guilty little thrill, then looked toward Leo's office. The door was closed, but she could feel him in there, handling things she didn't understand, keeping her safe without making her feel small. At noon, Grant appeared at Madison's desk. "Ms. Carter," he said politely, "Mr. Conti wants to confirm your dress size." Madison blinked. "My what?" Grant's expression didn't change, but his eyes held a hint of amusement. "For tonight." Madison's face went hot. "Oh my God." Grant nodded once. "Also, Mr. Blake is no longer allowed in the building." Madison's stomach eased slightly. "Thank you." Grant hesitated, then added, lower. He didn't look surprised. Madison's throat tightened. "What does that mean?" Grant's eyes flicked toward Leo's office. "Just means he came here expecting something." Madison swallowed. "Like what?" Grant didn't answer directly. He simply said, "Be careful today." Then he walked away like he hadn't just made her feel cold all over again. Hours later, Madison stood in a private suite near the venue, staring at herself in the mirror. The dress was midnight black, simple, modern, fitted in a way that made her feel like herself, only braver. Her hair was down, glossy and soft. Someone had done her makeup in a way that didn't erase her, just made her eyes look sharper, more awake. Madison pressed her palm to her stomach. "Breathe," she whispered. The door behind her opened softly. Leo walked in, and Madison forgot how to inhale. He wasn't in his office suit. He was in a tux that looked like it had been designed for him. Clean lines, quiet authority, no unnecessary shine. His gaze hit her and held. For a moment, he didn't speak. Then, very softly, "There she is." Madison swallowed. "There, who is?" Leo stepped closer, slow and controlled, like he wasn't trying to scare her with intensity. "The woman you've been hiding," he said. Madison's throat tightened. "Leo." His eyes dropped to her lips again. He didn't touch her face. He didn't pull her close. He simply lifted his hand and brushed his knuckles along the back of her fingers. Barely there, enough to spark. Madison's breath hitched. Leo's voice lowered. "Did you text me?" Madison blinked. Her phone buzzed in her clutch. Leo's gaze flicked to it. Madison looked down. Her unsent draft sat there, staring back at her like a confession. "I want you." She'd typed it hours ago and never hit send. Leo watched her expression change, and something warm and knowing entered his eyes. He didn't smile like he'd won. He smiled like he'd been waiting. Madison's cheeks heated. Don't read my face." Leo leaned slightly closer. His voice was a quiet murmur meant only for her. "I can't help it," he said. "Your face tells the truth faster than your thumbs." Madison huffed a shaky laugh. "That's unfair." Leo's gaze stayed on her. "Tonight is not about fair." Madison's pulse raced. "Then what is it about?" Leo's answer was calm and exact. "It's about making it clear," he said. "To you, to him, to everyone." Madison's throat tightened. "Clear how?" Leo's eyes held hers. "That you're not alone." A knock came at the door. Grant's voice. "Mr. Conti, 2 minutes." Leo didn't look away from Madison. "Ready?" Madison's hands shook slightly. "No." Leo's mouth curved faintly. "Perfect." Madison blinked. "Perfect?" Leo's voice dipped lower. "If you were comfortable, it wouldn't matter." "This matters." Madison's breath caught at the seriousness under his words. Then Leo offered his arm. Madison stared at it like it was a bridge. She took it. The ballroom was bright, crystal chandeliers, polished floors, winter flowers on every table. People turned as soon as Leo entered. Heads turned. Whispers moved like waves. Madison kept her posture steady, even as her heart tried to escape. Leo's hand settled at the small of her back, not possessive, not controlling, protective, anchoring, and somehow intimate enough to make her skin heat through the fabric. A man approached, tall, silver-haired, expensive smile. "Leo," the man said warmly, "didn't think you'd make it." Leo's expression was polite. "I had a reason." The man's gaze slid to Madison, curious. Leo didn't hesitate. "This is Madison Carter," Leo said. "She's with me." The words hit Madison like a spark. The man blinked, then smiled wider. Madison forced a polite smile, but her pulse was pounding. Across the room she saw Ryan. He stood near the bar, dressed well, looking like he belonged, until his gaze landed on her. His expression changed, tight, cold, and then smug, like he was about to ruin something. Madison's stomach twisted. Leo's hand pressed gently at her back, as if he'd felt her reaction without needing to see her face. "Don't look away," Leo murmured. Madison kept her head high. Ryan started walking toward them. And then a second man stepped into Ryan's path, someone Leo clearly knew. The man's posture went stiff the moment he noticed Ryan. Ryan said something to him, irritated. The man's face tightened. Madison couldn't hear the words, but she saw the man's expression flash with recognition. Then the man leaned in, speaking low, urgent. Madison caught only a fragment as she passed behind them, Leo guiding her smoothly toward a cluster of donors. "If she's the one who texted you," the man said, voice tense, "then you know who he really is." Madison's breath caught. Her steps faltered for half a second. Leo's hand at her back firmed, steadying her without stopping. Madison's mind raced. Who he really is. She turned her head slightly, trying to see. Ryan's smile had vanished, and for the first time tonight, he looked nervous. Madison's heart hammered as Leo guided her forward, calm as ever, while behind them the air shifted, like a truth was about to break open, and Ryan wasn't here to beg for her back. He was here for Leo, and somehow, she was the key. Madison swallowed hard, eyes fixed ahead, while a single question burned through her like a warning she couldn't ignore. What had Leo Conti just pulled her into, without telling her yet? Madison kept her smile in place as Leo guided her through the crowd, but her mind stayed stuck on the sentence she'd heard behind them. "Then you know who he really is." Her pulse wouldn't settle. Leo leaned in just enough for his words to reach only her. "Eyes forward," he murmured. "Breathe through your nose." "Slow." Madison obeyed, because it was easier than admitting she wanted to grab his sleeve and drag him into the nearest empty room. They paused at a donor table. Leo's tone was smooth, polite, normal, like nothing in the air had changed. Madison nodded at the right moments, shook hands, accepted compliments about the event, and somehow managed not to drop her clutch. But Leo's hand stayed at her back, steady and warm, like he was reminding her, "You're not alone." When the conversation finally broke, Leo angled them toward a quieter corridor near the terrace doors. The second the music dulled behind them, Madison exhaled hard. "Leo," she said under her breath, "what did I just walk into?" Leo didn't answer right away. He looked at her face like he was deciding how much truth she could take at once without tipping into panic. Then he opened the terrace door and guided her outside. Cold air hit Madison's cheeks. Midtown stretched below, headlights, tall buildings, Christmas lights wrapped around street trees like ribbons. The terrace was mostly empty, with a few people smoking at the far end and pretending they didn't see anything. Leo positioned himself between Madison and the door without making it obvious. Protective, not controlling. Madison turned to him. "Who was that man talking to Ryan? The one who said—" "I heard," Leo said. Madison's throat tightened. "Then tell me." Leo's expression stayed calm, but his eyes had gone sharper again. The look he wore when he handled problems before they became disasters. "Ryan is not here because he misses you," Leo said. Madison swallowed. I already figured that out. Leo nodded once. Good. Madison's voice came out smaller than she wanted. So why is he here? Leo studied her, then spoke plainly. Because he thinks you're the easiest way to reach me, Leo said. And because he's been lying to you longer than you realize. Madison's stomach dipped. Lying how? Leo's jaw flexed once. Then, Ryan used to work in my world. Madison blinked. Work? Like, for you? Leo didn't sugarcoat it. Not for me directly, for someone I trusted. He was close enough to learn things he shouldn't have learned. Madison stared. That's impossible. Leo's eyes held hers. Is it? Madison's mouth went dry. She thought about Ryan's vague explanations. The way he always had meetings he couldn't describe. The way he asked questions that felt too specific sometimes, about her schedule, her office, Leo's travel days. Madison's skin prickled. Oh my God. Leo's voice stayed steady. I'm not telling you this to scare you. I'm telling you because I won't let you keep blaming yourself for his choices. Madison clenched her fingers around her clutch. So he dated me because of you? Leo didn't answer immediately, and that hesitation hurt more than any yes could have. Madison's throat tightened. Leo. Leo's gaze softened just a fraction. I don't know exactly when he decided to use you, but yes, Ryan saw an opportunity. Madison stared at the city lights so she wouldn't have to look at Leo while her pride cracked open. That's humiliating, she whispered. No, Leo said immediately. That's cruel. There's a difference. Madison let out a shaky breath. I feel stupid. Leo stepped closer, lowering his voice. You feel human. Madison blinked hard. Her eyes burned. He made me think I wasn't enough, like I was convenient. Leo's expression tightened in something that looked like disgust, directed at Ryan, not her. He needed you insecure, Leo said, because confident women ask questions. Madison's mouth pulled into a bitter half-smile. So my revenge lingerie photo was, what, a mistake and a personality upgrade? Leo's lips twitched. That's one way to put it. Madison let out a breath that almost became a laugh. You're enjoying this? Leo's gaze dropped to her mouth, then back to her eyes. I'm enjoying you standing in the light. Madison's heartbeat kicked. Then she remembered something else. Something that had been buzzing under her skin since the lobby cameras. Did you run a background check on me? She asked suddenly. Leo didn't flinch. Yes. Madison's chest tightened. When? Leo answered without shame. Before I hired you. Madison's stomach twisted. So, I'm a file to you. Leo's expression changed, less sharp, more serious. No, he said. You're a responsibility. Madison's brows pulled together. That's not romantic, Leo. His mouth curved faintly. It's honest. Madison's voice rose a notch, not loud, but urgent. You should have told me. Leo nodded once. You're right. The blunt agreement stole the wind from her anger. Leo continued steady. I should have told you I didn't, because I wanted you to have a normal job, a normal life. I wanted you to walk into my office without thinking you'd stepped into something dangerous. Madison's throat tightened. But it is dangerous. Leo's eyes held hers. Only when people like Ryan decide to weaponize it. Madison stared at him, trying to sort through her feelings. Betrayal, fear, and, annoyingly, trust. Why did you hire me? She asked. If you knew you'd have to protect me? Leo's gaze didn't move. Because you were the most capable person in that interview room. Madison's lips parted. That's it? Leo's eyes softened. And because you looked at me like you weren't impressed. Madison blinked, thrown. I was impressed. Leo's mouth curved. You hit it well. Madison's cheeks heated despite everything. So now what? Leo glanced back through the glass doors into the ballroom. Now we finish the night the way I planned. Madison frowned. You planned this? Leo looked back at her. I planned to take you out in public. I planned to show you what it feels like to be chosen openly. Madison's breath caught. And Ryan? Leo's voice lowered. Ryan doesn't get to write your story. Madison's phone buzzed in her clutch. She pulled it out automatically, then froze when she saw the name. Ryan Blake. A text preview flashed. Ryan, we need to talk. Alone. Madison's stomach flipped, but not the way it used to. Not longing, not hope, just anger. Leo watched her face. Don't answer. Madison lifted her chin. I want to. Leo's brow lifted slightly. Then do it on your terms. Madison's fingers hovered over the screen. She typed with crisp certainty. Madison, do not contact me again. Madison, if you come near my work or my home, I will involve the police. Madison, this is your only warning. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Her heart pounded, but a strange relief moved through her chest. Leo's mouth curved faintly. There she is. Madison swallowed. Don't praise me. I'll get used to it. Leo's eyes warmed. Too late. They went back inside. For the next 40 minutes, Leo moved through the event with Madison at his side like it was the most natural thing in the world. He introduced her simply. He didn't make her a trophy. He didn't hide her like a secret. When someone asked what she did, Leo answered before she could. She runs my life. A few people laughed politely. Madison shot him a look. That's not funny. Leo leaned in, low. It's true. Madison's cheeks warmed, and she hated that it made her happy. She excused herself to the restroom once, mostly to breathe, then returned to find Leo by the bar, speaking with Grant. Grant's posture shifted the moment Madison approached. Ms. Carter, Grant said, polite. Madison nodded. Everything okay? Grant's expression stayed neutral, but his eyes held a warning. Mr. Blake tried to approach the staff entrance. Madison's stomach tightened. And? Grant's mouth didn't smile, but something close to satisfaction flickered in his gaze. He was turned away. Madison exhaled. Thank you. Grant glanced at Leo. Also, someone's watching the guest list. Madison blinked. What does that mean? Leo answered calmly. It means Ryan isn't acting alone. Madison's throat tightened again. Leo. Leo's gaze held hers steady. I told you, I'll handle it. Madison's voice came out frustrated. But I'm the one he dated. I'm the one he used. I don't want to be protected like I'm fragile. Leo leaned slightly closer. His tone stayed quiet but firm. Protection is not the same as disrespect. Madison stared at him. Leo continued slower. I'm not shielding you from the truth. I'm shielding you from people who don't deserve access to you. Madison's pulse jumped at the word access. Like Leo understood something deeper about her, something she hadn't said out loud. Leo extended his hand. Come with me. Madison hesitated. Where? Leo's gaze didn't waver. Home. The car ride was quieter than the ballroom, and the silence felt intimate instead of awkward. Madison sat beside Leo in the back seat, her hands folded in her lap like she was trying to be composed. The city moved past the tinted windows, lights, storefronts, people carrying shopping bags. Leo's hand rested on the seat between them, not touching her. Offering. Madison stared at it like it was a question. Finally, she placed her fingers against his. Leo didn't grab. He didn't squeeze. He simply turned his hand and laced his fingers with hers like it belonged there. Madison's chest tightened. You're shaking, Leo said quietly. Madison tried to laugh it off. It's the cold. Leo's gaze slid to her. It's not. Madison swallowed. I hate that I still care what Ryan thinks. Leo's voice was calm. You don't care what he thinks. You care that you didn't see him clearly sooner. Madison stared down at their joined hands. Yeah. Leo's thumb brushed her knuckle once. Small, grounding. Here's the lesson you'll take from this, Leo said. Not that you're naive. Madison looked up, surprised. Leo held her gaze. That your softness is not a weakness. It's just something you give to the right person. Madison's throat tightened again. And how do I know who's right? Leo didn't rush. By how they treat your no. Madison blinked. Leo's voice stayed even. Ryan pushed your boundaries. He used your emotions. He tried to keep you small. Madison swallowed. Leo continued, quieter. The right person will ask, will listen, will stop, even when he wants more. Madison's heart hammered at the last words. The car pulled into Leo's building garage. They stepped into a private elevator, and the quiet hum around them made everything feel closer. Madison stared at the floor numbers climbing. This feels unreal. Leo's gaze stayed on her. It's real. When they reached his penthouse, Leo guided her inside. Warm air wrapped around her immediately, clean, soft lighting, the scent of something subtle and expensive. A Christmas tree stood in the corner, taller than hers, understated but beautiful. Madison blinked. You have a tree. Leo looked mildly annoyed. Grant insisted. Madison laughed before she could stop herself. Grant insisted? Leo's mouth curved. He said it made me seem less terrifying. Madison laughed again, louder this time, and the tension in her chest loosened like a knot letting go. Leo watched her with a quiet satisfaction. There it is. Madison tried to compose herself. Do not tell him I laughed. Leo nodded solemnly. I'll deny everything. Madison stepped further in, setting her clutch on the counter. Her heels finally came off, and she sighed in relief. Leo shrugged out of his tux jacket, loosening the bow tie with efficient fingers. The sight made Madison's stomach flip in a way she tried not to show. Leo noticed anyway. He turned his head slightly, watching her face. Madison lifted her chin, defensive. Don't look at me like that. Leo's voice was calm. Like what? Like you know exactly what I'm thinking, Madison said. Leo took a slow step closer. Do I? Madison swallowed. She tried to make her voice light. You're taking off your tie. Leo's mouth curved faintly. That's a fact, not a thought. Madison's cheeks heated. Leo. He stopped close enough that she could feel his warmth, but he didn't touch her yet. Tell me what you want, Leo said quietly. Madison's heart thudded. You keep saying that. Leo's gaze held hers. Because I mean it. Madison's breath caught. Her voice came out honest before she could soften it. I want to stop feeling embarrassed about wanting you. Leo's expression changed. Something warm and steady. Good, he said. Madison swallowed. And I want you to stop acting like you're fine. Leo's brow lifted slightly. I'm not fine. Madison shook her head slowly. No, you're controlled. There's a difference. Leo stared at her for a beat. Then he exhaled, quiet, real. You're right, he admitted. Madison's chest tightened. So tell me. Leo hesitated. Not because he didn't have words, because the words mattered. I hate that Ryan got close to you, Leo said. I hate that he made you doubt yourself. And I hate... He paused. I hate that I wanted you long before Christmas Eve, and I acted like I didn't. Madison's breath left her. Leo's gaze didn't move. I didn't touch you because I didn't want you to think you were only safe if you gave me something. Madison's throat tightened. Leo continued quieter. But when that photo hit my phone, you didn't look like someone asking for attention. You looked like someone trying to remember her power. Madison blinked hard. And I wanted, Leo said, voice low, to be the man who gave it back to you. Madison's eyes stung. She hated how emotional she was, but she didn't look away. Leo's hand lifted slowly, giving her time to refuse. His knuckles brushed her cheek. Light, careful. Madison leaned into it without thinking. Leo's thumb traced the edge of her jaw. May I kiss you? The question hit her like heat and relief at the same time. Madison's voice came out breathy. Yes. Leo kissed her like a man with control, and like a man who'd been holding back, not rushed, not hungry in a way that felt careless, intentional. Madison's fingers curled into his shirt and Leo's hand slid to her waist, steadying her like she might float away. When he pulled back, their foreheads stayed close. Madison whispered, "That felt dangerous." Leo's mouth curved faintly. "Only because you're used to love that comes with consequences." Madison swallowed. "And you?" Leo's voice was low. "I'm used to consequences. I'm not used to love." Madison stared at him, chest tight. "That's sad." Leo's eyes warmed. "It's changing." Madison tried to breathe. "Okay, I need a minute." Leo nodded, calm. "Take it." Madison turned toward the kitchen like she needed an excuse to move. "Do you have water?" Leo followed at a distance, letting her have space while still staying near. Madison opened the fridge, perfectly organized. "Of course." She grabbed a bottle of water, then paused when she noticed a container labeled in neat handwriting. "Madison. Favorite." She stared, confused. "Leo." He didn't look guilty. "Yes?" Madison held up the container. "Why does your fridge have something labeled Madison, favorite?" Leo's mouth curved with quiet satisfaction. "Because you're picky about creamer." Madison blinked. "You what?" Leo leaned against the counter, casual. "You drink coffee like you're arguing with it, but you only relax when it's sweet." Madison stared at him. "You notice that." Leo's gaze held hers. "I told you, I notice everything." Madison's lips parted, and a laugh escaped, soft and stunned. "You are insane," she whispered. Leo's eyes warmed, and prepared. Madison shook her head, smiling despite the tension. "This is too much." Leo stepped closer, slow. "Is it too much? Or is it the first time someone made room for you without asking you to shrink?" Madison's smile faded into something softer. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced down. Unknown number. Her stomach tightened as she opened it. "Unknown. He keeps files on you, Madison." "Unknown. Ask him what else he knows." "Unknown. Ask him what he hasn't told you yet." Madison's fingers went cold. She looked up at Leo. He was watching her face again, reading the shift instantly. "What did you get?" he asked. Madison swallowed hard, voice quiet. "Leo," she said, "what else haven't you told me?" Madison's question hung between them like a held breath. "Leo, what else haven't you told me?" Leo didn't move fast. He didn't reach for her, didn't try to soften it with charm. He looked at her the way he looked at serious deals. Quiet, direct, like lying wasn't even an option. Then he nodded once. "Come here." Madison's stomach tightened. "That's not an answer." "It is," he said calm, "because I'm going to show you instead of trying to talk my way out of it." He walked to his office corner. Glass shelves, a clean desk, no clutter. He opened a drawer and pulled out a thin black folder. Madison's heart dropped. "That's my file." Leo set it on the desk and slid it toward her. "Open it." Madison didn't touch it immediately. Her fingers hovered like the paper could burn. Leo's voice stayed steady. "You're allowed to be angry. You're allowed to be scared. But you're not allowed to guess." Madison swallowed. "Guess what?" Leo's gaze held hers. "That I'm the kind of man who keeps a file on you for the wrong reasons." Her throat tightened. She hated how much she wanted to believe him. Madison opened the folder. Inside were the things she expected: resume copy, references, employment history, her address, a standard background check. But then she saw notes in clean, precise type. "Emergency contact confirmed. Building entry route reviewed. Workplace harassment policy briefing scheduled. Security escort offered during late nights. Ex-boyfriend flagged after suspicious inquiries." Madison froze. "He was flagged before Christmas Eve?" Leo nodded once. "Yes." Madison stared at the page, pulse racing. "So you knew." "I suspected," Leo corrected. He asked questions he didn't have a reason to ask. Madison's voice came out thin. "And you didn't tell me?" Leo didn't flinch. "Because I didn't want you living in fear." Madison's eyes stung. "But I was living in a lie." Leo's jaw flexed once. "Yes." That blunt honesty knocked some of the anger out of her chest. Not all of it, just enough to breathe. Madison flipped to the next sheet and stopped. A photo. Not lingerie. A candid picture of her leaving a coffee shop months ago, laughing at something on her phone, hair messy, scarf crooked. Madison stared, unsettled. Why do you have this? Leo's eyes didn't waver. Because Ryan followed you. Madison's blood went cold. What? Leo pointed to a small line of text beside it, taken by third party, retrieved from private investigator after surveillance alert. Madison looked up, mouth dry. You hired a private investigator? Leo nodded once. After Ryan asked my assistant manager for your schedule. Madison's stomach twisted. He did that? Yes, Leo said, and it wasn't to buy you flowers. Madison swallowed hard. She flipped again. A transcript, a short one. Ryan's voice, quoted from a recorded call. If she stays close to Conti, I can get what I need. Madison's hands went numb. Oh my God. Leo's voice softened, but only slightly. I'm sorry. Madison's laugh came out broken, disbelieving. He dated me like I was a key. Leo's eyes sharpened with something dangerous. Contained. He tried. Madison stared down at the papers, chest tight. Humiliation crawled up her throat. Leo stepped closer, slow, giving her space but not distance. Look at me, he said quietly. Madison lifted her eyes. Leo's voice was steady. You're not a fool for trusting someone. He's the fool for thinking your trust made you weak. Madison swallowed. Then why do I feel disgusting? Leo's face tightened. Because he wanted you to feel that way. Shame keeps people quiet. Madison's eyes stung again, but she blinked hard. And the unknown number? Leo didn't hesitate. It's him. Or someone working with him. Madison's throat tightened. The "he owes me" message. Leo's mouth flattened slightly. That's not Ryan's style. That's someone else. Madison's pulse spiked. Who? Leo took a breath. A man named Caleb Shaw. Madison frowned. I don't know that name. You weren't supposed to, Leo said. He's an operator. He stays clean on paper and dirty everywhere else. He's been trying to pressure me into a business decision I won't make. Madison stared. And he's using Ryan to get to you. Leo nodded. Yes. Madison's voice came out sharper. So what's the plan, Leo? Because I'm not going to spend my life jumping every time my phone buzzes. Leo's gaze held hers. Good. Madison blinked. Good? Leo stepped closer until she could feel his warmth again, calm and grounding. Because you're not living like that. Not with me. Madison's chest tightened. You keep saying things like that. I mean them, Leo said simply. Madison looked down at the file, then back up. So, this is everything? Leo didn't answer right away. And that pause, small, controlled, made her stomach drop again. Madison's voice lowered. Leo. Leo exhaled, slow. There's one more thing. Her heart thudded hard. What? Leo reached into the folder and pulled out a sealed envelope thicker than the others. On the front, in neat lettering, Madison Carter, original application. Madison frowned. That's my hiring paperwork. Leo's gaze stayed on her face. It's not just paperwork. Madison's fingers trembled as she took the envelope. What is it? Leo's voice was quiet. Something I found when I checked your references. Madison stared at him. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Leo's eyes softened. Because it wasn't mine to tell until I was sure. Madison's throat tightened. Sure of what? Leo leaned closer, voice low, controlled. That I wasn't seeing what I wanted to see. Madison's pulse raced. She tore the envelope open. Inside was a single printed page, an old document scan, with a name she recognized instantly, Daniel Carter. Madison's breath caught. My father. Leo watched her still. Yes. Madison's mind spun. Why is my dad in your world? Leo spoke carefully. Because years ago he saved a man's life. Madison stared. Whose? Leo's eyes held hers. Mine. Madison froze. No, she whispered, stunned. That's impossible. Leo shook his head once. It's not. Madison's chest tightened, and confusion mixed with something softer, something she couldn't name. My dad never told me, she said. Leo's mouth curved faintly, almost sad. That sounds like him. Madison swallowed. When? Leo's voice stayed calm, but something heavy lived under it. Before I was Leo Conti to the world. Before I had power. I was younger, stupid. I got myself into a situation I couldn't control. Madison stared, heart pounding. And my father helped you? Leo nodded. He got me out. He didn't ask for money. He didn't want a favor. He wanted me to promise something. Madison's breath caught. What promise? Leo's gaze didn't move. That if I ever met his daughter, I'd make sure she was treated with respect. Madison's throat tightened. So you hired me because of my dad? Leo answered instantly. No. Madison blinked. Leo stepped closer, firm. I hired you because you were the best. I kept you safe because I knew what kind of man your father was. And because I don't break promises. Madison's eyes stung. Leo. Leo's voice softened. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you thinking your job was charity. Madison swallowed hard, emotions tangling too fast. So you've been watching out for me, she whispered. For months. Because of my dad. Leo's eyes warmed. At first. Madison stared at him. And now? Leo didn't hesitate. Now it's because I want you. The words landed like heat. Madison's breath caught. She looked away, overwhelmed, then looked back because she couldn't help it. Okay, she whispered, shaky. Okay, but what happens if Caleb Shaw sends that photo to people? What if Ryan? Leo's voice stayed steady. Then we handle it with truth. Madison blinked. Truth? Leo nodded. No shame, no panic, no hiding. You didn't commit a crime by having a body. Madison let out a breath that was almost a laugh. It felt like a crime. Leo's gaze sharpened gently. Not in this house. Madison's heart pounded. What are you going to do? Leo spoke plainly. Tomorrow morning my attorney Avery Collins is sending a legal notice. Ryan will be warned formally. Caleb will be warned formally. We'll document everything. Madison frowned. And if they don't stop? Leo's mouth curved faintly, dangerous calm. Then we escalate legally. More eyes, more pressure, less room for games. Madison stared. No. Scary stuff? Leo's gaze held hers. No violence, no drama. You asked for a love story, Madison. Not a nightmare. Madison's throat tightened. Thank you. Leo stepped closer. You're still shaking. Madison tried to smile. It's the cold. Leo lifted a brow. Again? Madison let out a small laugh, then it broke into something softer. She set the papers down like they were too heavy. I hate that I sent that photo, she admitted. Not because you saw it, because it gave them a way in. Leo's voice was quiet. You didn't give them anything. Madison blinked. Yes, I did. Leo shook his head. They were already outside the door. You simply stopped pretending the door didn't exist. Madison's eyes stung. You make everything sound manageable. It is manageable, Leo said, and his voice lowered. Especially when you're not alone. Madison's throat tightened again. Leo lifted his hand slowly, giving her time to refuse. May I? Madison whispered. Yes. Leo's palm cupped her cheek, warm, steady. He kissed her like reassurance first, desire second. And somehow that order made the desire hit harder. Madison's fingers curled into his shirt. Leo pulled back just enough to look at her. Tell me one thing you want right now. Madison's breath caught. Leo. His thumb brushed her cheekbone. Simple. Honest. Madison swallowed. I want to feel safe and wanted at the same time. Leo's gaze warmed and something in his face softened. Like her words had unlocked a part of him he kept guarded. Then stay, he said quietly. Madison's heart thudded. Tonight? Leo nodded once. Tonight. Madison hesitated for a beat, just long enough for her fear to flare. Then she remembered Ryan's text. You're not the first secretary who thought she'd be special. She lifted her chin, eyes steady now. I don't want to be special, Madison said. I want to be chosen. Clearly. Leo's gaze held hers. You are. Madison's breath hitched. Leo kissed her again, slower, deeper, then guided her toward the hall with the kind of care that made her feel like she wasn't being pulled. She was being welcomed. The lights in the bedroom were low. The city glow filtered in through glass. Leo didn't rush. He asked with his eyes, with his hands, with his voice. Madison nodded and her body finally unclenched. Later, she lay against him with the blanket pulled up, her head on his chest, listening to his breathing like it was the most peaceful sound she'd heard all year. She traced a slow line on his shoulder. You're too calm for someone with enemies. Leo's voice rumbled softly. I'm calm because I learned what matters. Madison blinked. And what matters? Leo kissed her hair. You. Madison's throat tightened, but this time she didn't fight it. She fell asleep in the safest silence she'd ever known. Morning came, soft and pale. Madison woke to the scent of coffee and something warm in the oven. She blinked, disoriented, then remembered exactly where she was. Leo walked in holding a mug. His hair was slightly messy, barely, and the sight made her smile before she could stop herself. He handed her the mug. Sweet, like you like it. Madison stared into it, stunned. You remembered. Leo's mouth curved faintly. I keep files on important things. Madison groaned into the pillow. Don't joke about that. Leo's eyes warmed. Fair. Madison sat up, hair falling over her shoulder. What time is it? Leo glanced at his watch. Early enough to eat. Late enough that Avery is already awake. Madison's stomach tightened again. Today. Leo nodded. Today. Madison took a breath. Okay, I'm ready. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number. Her stomach dropped as she opened it. A new message. A screenshot, her lingerie photo, cropped tighter with text typed over it like a threat. Unknown, last chance. Unknown, by noon, this goes to your co-workers and his board. Unknown, tell Leo Conti to pay what he owes. Madison's hands went cold. She looked up at Leo, and before she could speak, Leo's phone buzzed too. He checked it once. His expression didn't change much, just a slight tightening at the jaw. Then he turned his screen toward her. An email subject line, already sent, already out there. For the board, Leo Conti's secretary. Proof attached. Madison's breath caught hard, because the blackmail wasn't coming. It had already started. And the only question left was, who on Leo's board was about to open it first? Madison's lungs forgot how to work. She stared at Leo's phone, at the subject line like it was a siren. For the board, Leo Conti's secretary, proof attached. Her first instinct was shame, hot, sharp, automatic. Her second instinct surprised her. Anger. Give me that, Madison said, and her voice didn't shake. Leo handed his phone over without hesitation. Madison read the sender address. It was masked, made to look corporate, polished, fake. A trap dressed in a suit. Her fingers tightened. They sent it to your board. Leo's tone stayed calm. Yes. Madison looked up. And you're not panicking. Leo's eyes held hers. Because panic is what they want. Madison swallowed. What if someone opens it? Leo stepped closer and took his phone back gently, like he was taking a weapon out of her hands. Someone will. Madison's stomach dropped. Leo. Leo lifted one finger. And when they do, they'll see exactly what I want them to see. Madison blinked, confused. What you want them to see? Leo walked to his desk, already moving like a man who'd planned for storms. He tapped his screen, pulled up an email chain, and turned his laptop toward her. At the top was another subject line, sent 5 minutes ago. Legal notice, Harassment, extortion, unauthorized distribution of private image below it. Avery Collins, Esquire. Madison's breath caught. You already... I told you Avery was awake, Leo said, calm. Madison stared. But how did you move that fast? Leo's mouth curved faintly. Because I don't gamble with you. Madison's throat tightened. Leo clicked again. A second email draft was ready, addressed to the full board and key executives. Short, clean, controlled. No drama, no begging. A statement. Madison read it, and her pulse slowed. It said in plain words, "This is an extortion attempt. The image is private and non-consensual to distribute. Legal action is already initiated. Any employee who forwards or stores it will be violating policy and law. Madison Carter is under company protection. Leo Conti will address the board directly within the hour." Madison looked up, stunned. "You're defending me, publicly?" Leo's eyes stayed steady. "Yes." Madison's voice came out small. "Even if it makes you look..." Leo cut in, quiet but firm. "It makes me look honest." Madison swallowed hard. Her phone buzzed on the nightstand. Unknown number. She didn't want to look, but she did. Unknown. Too late. Unknown. Open your work email. Unknown. See how fast respect disappears. Madison's stomach clenched. Leo watched her face. "Don't." Madison lifted her chin. "I need to." Leo didn't stop her. He simply moved closer, close enough that his steadiness reached her skin. Madison opened her email on her phone. There it was. A forwarded chain already moving. Subject line variations, all cruel, all designed to humiliate. Someone had already tried to make her the office headline. Madison's fingers went cold. Then another email arrived, company-wide, from Leo Conti. Madison's breath caught as she opened it. It was the message from the draft, sent. And beneath the legal clarity, Leo added one single line at the end. "No one will shame Madison Carter in this company, not while I'm responsible for it." Madison stared at that line until her eyes burned. Leo's voice was low. "Look at me." Madison lifted her eyes. Leo didn't look angry. He looked certain. "This is where it ends," he said. Madison swallowed. "What if your board doesn't like it?" Leo's mouth curved faintly, almost amused. "Then they can dislike it in silence." Madison let out a shaky laugh that turned into a breath. He was actually doing this. He was choosing her in the light, the way he promised. And suddenly the humiliation didn't feel like it owned her anymore. It felt like a test, and she wasn't failing it. Leo reached for his coat. "Get dressed." Madison blinked. "Where are we going?" Leo's tone stayed even. "To the office." Madison's pulse jumped. "Leo, everyone will stare." Leo looked at her like she'd forgotten something important. "Let them." Madison's throat tightened. "I don't know if I can walk in there today." Leo stepped closer. He lifted her chin gently, giving her time to pull away. "You can," he said, "because you're not walking in as a victim." Madison's breath caught. "Then what am I walking in as?" Leo's voice dropped. "As mine." The words hit her like heat and steadiness. Madison swallowed, then nodded once. "Okay." The ride to the office was quiet, not awkward, focused. Grant met them at the garage elevator, his eyes sharp. "Board members are already calling," Grant said. "Avery's team is coordinating. It is tracing the sender." Leo nodded once. "Good." Madison held her head up, but her stomach churned. Grant's gaze flicked to her, softer than his usual professional blankness. "You're okay," he said, like it was a fact. Madison blinked. "Thank you." Grant nodded once, then stepped back into his role. The elevator climbed. When the doors opened to the executive floor, the air felt different. Too quiet, too aware. Madison stepped out beside Leo, her heels clicking against the polished floor like a countdown. Heads turned. People froze mid-step, mid-sentence, mid-breath. Madison's face warmed, but she kept walking. Leo's hand rested lightly at her back, anchoring, not claiming. And then it happened. Someone whispered, not as quiet as they thought. There she is. Madison's stomach clenched. Leo stopped. The entire hallway seemed to stop with him. He turned his head slightly toward the whisper, and his voice carried, calm, controlled, and loud enough to make a lesson out of it without sounding like a threat. Yes, Leo said. There she is. Silence. Leo continued, eyes steady. And if anyone here believes humiliation is entertainment, you can schedule a meeting with HR and explain it in writing. No shouting, no scene, just authority. Madison's chest loosened. They walked. Madison reached her desk. Her inbox was chaos. Her hands trembled as she placed her bag down. Tessa Harper sat at the assistant station across the hall, staring at Madison like she didn't know whether to hug her or pretend she didn't exist. Then Tessa stood abruptly and walked over. Madison braced herself. Tessa stopped right in front of her and said quietly, "If you need me to punch someone, I'm free after lunch." Madison blinked. A laugh burst out of her, half shocked, half relieved. Tessa leaned in, voice low. "I'm serious, but also, I'm glad you're here." Madison's throat tightened. "Thank you." Tessa's eyes flicked to Leo's office. "He sent that email. The whole company saw it." Madison swallowed. "Yeah." Tessa exhaled. "Okay, then whoever started this is an idiot." Madison nodded, eyes burning again. "Yes." Tessa squeezed Madison's arm once and walked away like she'd just handed Madison a shield. Madison stared after her, stunned by the kindness. Leo appeared at her desk a moment later, calm as ever. "Board meeting," he said. "Now." Madison's pulse jumped. "You want me there?" Leo's gaze held hers. "Yes." Madison swallowed. "Leo, are you sure?" Leo's voice softened by a fraction. "I'm not doing this without you." Madison's heart thudded. She nodded. "Okay." The boardroom doors opened onto a long table of polished wood, the city visible behind glass. 5 board members sat already. Madison recognized 2 from company holiday events, smiles that never reached their eyes. Avery Collins stood at the far end with a tablet, composed, sharp, the kind of woman who looked like she could win a war with punctuation. All eyes turned to Leo. Then, slowly, to Madison. Madison kept her face calm even as her stomach twisted. Leo took his seat at the head of the table. He didn't offer Madison a chair behind him. He pulled one out beside him. The gesture was small, but it was loud. Madison sat. One board member, a woman named Elaine Porter, cleared her throat. "Leo," Elaine began carefully, "this situation," Leo cut in, calm, "is extortion." Elaine blinked. "Yes, of course. But it's also reputational." Leo's gaze stayed steady. "My reputation is not built on pretending women should be ashamed of their bodies." The room went quiet. Another board member, Howard Vance, leaned forward. "With respect, this involves your employee." Leo nodded once. "Yes." Howard's voice sharpened. "And your personal relationship with her is now—" Leo's tone didn't change. "My relationship with Madison Carter is not the problem. A criminal trying to distribute private material is the problem." Avery tapped her tablet once. "For the record, we have evidence of extortion, illegal distribution, and harassment. If any member of this board engages with that content, forwards it, or stores it, it will expose this company and you personally." The room stiffened. Elaine narrowed her eyes. "Who is behind it?" Leo answered, controlled. "A man named Caleb Shaw, and a second party, Ryan Blake, who has been using Madison as leverage." Madison's chest tightened at the name. Elaine frowned. "Ryan Blake, wasn't he—" Leo's jaw tightened slightly. "He used to be connected to an associate. He is no longer welcome in this building." Howard leaned back. "And what does Shaw want?" Leo's voice went colder. "Money, influence, a contract." Elaine's gaze flicked to Madison. "And what does he want from her?" Madison's stomach clenched, but she lifted her chin. Before Leo could answer, Madison spoke. Her voice was steady. "He wants me ashamed," Madison said. "Because ashamed women get quiet." The room went still. Madison continued, simpler, clearer. letting the truth be the weapon instead of her fear. "I made a mistake," she said. "I sent a private photo to the wrong person. That wrong person happened to be Leo." That should have been embarrassing for about 10 seconds. A board member shifted uncomfortably. Madison kept going. "The crime is not that I took the photo. The crime is someone trying to use it to threaten me." Leo's hand rested near hers on the table, not touching, but close enough to steady her. Madison's voice stayed calm. "I won't resign. I won't hide. And I won't let anyone in this company treat me like I deserve what's happening." Silence. Then Avery spoke. Crisp. "Thank you." That statement helps us significantly. Howard looked unsettled. Elaine looked thoughtful. Leo's gaze swept the room. "This is my final word," Leo said. "We do not reward extortion. We do not shame victims. And we do not lose good people because criminals think fear is a business strategy." Elaine exhaled. "Fine. What's the next step?" Avery answered. "We've already filed for emergency protective orders. It is tracing the origin, and law enforcement is being briefed on Caleb Shaw's pattern." Howard's brows lifted. "Pattern?" Avery nodded. "He's done this before." Madison's stomach turned. Leo's jaw tightened. "And he made one mistake this time." Elaine glanced at Madison. "What mistake?" Leo's eyes held Madison's, then returned to the board. "He involved someone I love," Leo said. Madison's breath caught. The word love landed in the room like a glass breaking, quiet at first, then suddenly impossible to ignore. Madison turned her head slightly toward Leo, stunned. Leo didn't look at her. He kept his gaze on the board, calm. But his hand moved, slow and deliberate, and covered hers on the table, warm, steady, public. Elaine blinked. Howard looked away. The room shifted. Not disapproval. Acceptance, calculation, reality. Avery's eyes flicked briefly to Leo's hand on Madison's, then back to her tablet. Businesslike, unshaken. "Meeting adjourned," Leo said. One by one the board members rose. As they filed out, Elaine paused by Madison's chair. Her expression softened by a fraction. "You handled that well," Elaine said quietly. "Don't let anyone make you smaller." Madison blinked, surprised. "Thank you." Elaine nodded once and left. The door shut. The room was finally quiet. Madison stared at Leo's hand on hers. "You said you love me," she whispered. Leo's gaze slid to her, warm and steady. "Yes." Madison's throat tightened. In front of them. Leo's mouth curved faintly. "You asked to be chosen clearly." Madison's eyes stung. "Leo." He stood and pulled her gently to her feet, guiding her toward the glass wall that overlooked the city. "I didn't plan to say it like that," Leo admitted quietly. "But I'm done hiding." Madison swallowed. "I didn't know you were there." Leo's eyes held hers. "I've been here." Madison's chest tightened. "Since when?" Leo's voice lowered. "Longer than you think." Madison's pulse raced. "Tell me." Leo's gaze flicked to her lips, then back to her eyes. "After this is over." Madison frowned. "What do you mean after?" Leo's phone buzzed. He checked it once. His expression tightened, controlled. Then he turned the phone toward Madison. A message from Avery. Avery Collins. Confirmed. Caleb Shaw is not acting alone. Avery Collins. The second name just came in. Avery Collins. You're going to want to sit down. Leo's jaw flexed once. Madison's stomach dropped. "What name?" she whispered. Leo's eyes lifted to hers, and for the first time all day, there was something like shock in them. He spoke the name slowly, like he didn't want it to be real. "Daniel Carter." Madison froze. Her father's name, and the room tilted under her as one single thought hit like ice. If her father was involved, then the man she trusted most in the world might be the one holding the match. Madison didn't sit down. She couldn't. Her father's name echoed in her skull like a wrong note that wouldn't stop ringing. "Daniel Carter," she repeated, barely breathing. That's my dad." Leo's hand moved to her waist, steadying, not restraining. His eyes stayed on her face like he was making sure she didn't shatter. "I know," Leo said quietly. Madison pulled a shaky breath. No, that can't be right. My dad he's a good man." Leo didn't argue. "He might be." Madison's throat tightened, anger sparking under fear. "Don't say that like you're leaving room for him to be terrible." Leo's gaze held hers. "I'm leaving room for facts." Madison's eyes stung. "Facts don't change who he is." Leo's voice softened by a fraction. "Sometimes they explain what we never understood." Madison swallowed hard, then grabbed Leo's phone again, fingers tight. She stared at Avery's message. The second name just came in. "You're going to want to sit down." She didn't sit. She lifted her own phone and called her father. Ring, ring, ring. Voicemail. Madison's pulse spiked. She called again. Voicemail. Her stomach turned. Leo didn't take the phone from her. He didn't tell her to calm down. He simply stepped closer, his presence steady enough to hold her upright. Madison's voice came out sharp. "Why isn't he answering?" Leo's tone stayed calm. "Because he's at work, or because he can't." Madison shot him a look. "That's not helping." Leo nodded once. "Fair." Madison typed a text with trembling fingers. "Madison. Dad. Call me now. It's urgent." She hit send. Then she looked at Leo, eyes burning. "Tell me what Avery meant." Leo's jaw tightened slightly. "Avery traced the extortion route." Madison swallowed. "And it leads to my dad?" Leo shook his head once. "Not directly. It leads to someone who used your father's name." Madison blinked, hope flaring. "So it could be a lie." "It could," Leo said. "But there's more." Madison's stomach dropped again. "What more?" Leo took a slow breath, then walked to his desk and opened a secure folder on his laptop. He turned the screen toward her. A timeline, dates, payments, connections, and one line highlighted. Daniel Carter, past association, contact point, unresolved. Madison stared. "What does contact point mean?" Leo's voice stayed controlled. "It means years ago, after he saved me, there was one follow-up meeting." Madison's throat tightened. "He never told me that." Leo's gaze was steady. "I never asked him to." Madison's eyes stung. "Leo, what are you saying?" Leo spoke slowly. "I'm saying your father may have crossed paths with Caleb Shaw, knowingly or unknowingly." Madison shook her head. "No, my dad doesn't. He doesn't even like trouble." Leo's mouth tightened. "Sometimes trouble likes good men. They're easier to manipulate." Madison's breath caught, fear turning into a sharp need for answers. "Call Avery," she said. Leo nodded and hit speaker. Avery Collins answered on the second ring, her voice crisp and steady. "Leo." "Avery," Leo said. "Explain the Daniel Carter link, now." Avery didn't waste time. The email blast originated from a server rented under an alias. The payment method used to rent it was a prepaid card purchased at a store in Queens. Security footage shows the purchase. Madison's stomach tightened. "And?" Avery continued. "The purchaser wasn't Ryan Blake. It wasn't Caleb Shaw." Madison's breath caught. "Who was it?" Avery's voice stayed steady. "A man who looks extremely similar to Daniel Carter. Same build. Same age range. Same walk." Madison's throat tightened. "No." Leo's voice sharpened, controlled. "Are you sure?" Avery answered, precise. "I said similar, not confirmed, but the resemblance is strong." Madison's hands went cold. Maybe it's someone wearing..." Avery cut in gently. "We're considering that." Leo's jaw flexed. "Why use Daniel's name at all?" Avery's answer came clean. "To destabilize Madison, to destabilize you, to force a rash decision." Madison swallowed hard. "Which is what?" Avery's tone remained calm. "To pay, or to react publicly in a way that harms your company." Leo's voice turned colder. And the "he owes me" line? Avery exhaled. That's Caleb's language. He's insisting you owe him for a deal that didn't happen. Madison's voice came out tight. So my dad might be innocent? Avery paused. Madison, I hope so, but we can't ignore the resemblance. Madison's eyes burned. What do I do? Avery's voice softened slightly. You stay close to Leo. You don't meet anyone alone, and you don't confront your father without support. Madison swallowed. He's my dad. Avery replied, steady. And you're being targeted. Leo ended the call. Madison stood frozen for a beat, then turned away, pressing her palm to her forehead. Her phone buzzed. A text from her father. Madison's heart jumped. Dad. Honey, I'm in a meeting. What's wrong? Madison's throat tightened so hard it hurt. She typed quickly. Madison. Dad, I need to see you today. Please. It's serious. She hit send, then looked at Leo. I have to talk to him. Leo nodded once. You will. Madison swallowed. Now. Leo's voice was calm. Not alone. Madison's eyes flashed. I'm not a child. Leo's gaze didn't move. And I'm not treating you like one. I'm treating you like someone I love. Madison's chest tightened again at the word love. Leo stepped closer. We'll meet him somewhere public. Safe. Quiet. Madison's mouth went dry. Like where? Leo didn't hesitate. A cafe near the river. Private booth. Grant outside. No drama. Madison exhaled shakily. Okay. The cafe smelled like warm bread and cinnamon. Soft music played, low enough not to intrude. Outside, winter light reflected off the water, making everything feel clean and cold. Madison sat in the booth facing the door. Her hands were wrapped around a mug she hadn't touched. Leo sat beside her, not across, close enough to anchor her. Every time the bell above the door chimed, Madison's stomach tightened. Then it chimed again, and her father walked in. Daniel Carter looked exactly like she remembered. Kind eyes, practical coat, hair slightly grayer than last year, the posture of a man who carried responsibility quietly. He scanned the room, spotted Madison, and his face softened with relief. Sweetheart, he said, walking quickly toward her. Madison stood, and for half a second she almost rushed into his arms like she always did. Then she saw Leo rise too. Her father's steps slowed. His eyes flicked to Leo, and something changed. Not fear, not guilt. Recognition. Madison's heart thudded hard. Dad, Madison said, voice tight. Sit. Please. Daniel's eyes stayed on Leo for one long beat, then he slid into the booth across from them, hands folded carefully on the table like he was bracing. Madison, he said gently. You scared me. Madison's throat tightened. I'm scared too. Daniel's gaze flicked to Leo again. So, it's him. Madison's stomach dropped. You know him. Daniel exhaled slowly. I know of him. Leo didn't speak. He simply watched Daniel with calm focus. Madison's voice shook. Dad, are you involved with Caleb Shaw? Daniel's face tightened. Caleb Shaw? Madison's heart raced. Don't pretend you've never heard that name. Daniel blinked once, slow. I have heard it. Madison's chest tightened. Then why didn't you tell me? Daniel's eyes softened with something painful. Because I didn't want you anywhere near it. Madison's throat tightened. I'm already near it. They used my photo, Dad. Daniel's face went pale. They did what? Madison's voice rose slightly, controlled but breaking. They tried to blackmail Leo. They tried to humiliate me. They sent it to his board. Daniel's hands clenched on the table. Oh, sweetheart. Leo spoke for the first time, voice even. Daniel. Tell her the truth. Daniel swallowed hard. Madison, years ago I met a man, Caleb. He was charming. He offered me work, money, connections. Madison's stomach twisted. Why? Daniel looked ashamed. Because your mom was sick and we were drowning. Madison froze. Mom? Leo's jaw tightened slightly, but he stayed silent. Daniel continued, voice rough. I took a job that wasn't right. Not illegal like people imagine, nothing violent. But it was delivery work, paperwork, dropping envelopes, not asking questions. Madison's throat tightened. Dad, Daniel's eyes shone. I thought I was protecting you. Madison swallowed hard. And Leo? Daniel's gaze slid to Leo. I met Leo before he became what he is. He was young. He was in danger. I helped him. And later, Caleb found out. Madison's breath caught. How? Daniel's face tightened. Caleb always finds out. Madison's hands went cold. So Caleb has been using you. Daniel nodded slowly, pain in his eyes. He's been threatening me for years, not with violence, with exposure, with ruining your life. Madison's voice cracked. Then why didn't you come to me? Daniel's eyes filled. Because you were finally happy. You had a job you were proud of. I didn't want to contaminate it. Madison blinked hard. Dad. Leo's voice stayed calm. Did you rent the server? Did you send the email? Daniel's head snapped up. No. Madison's heart hammered. Are you sure? Daniel's voice sharpened. Hurt. Madison, no. I would never do that to you. Madison's throat tightened. She wanted to believe him so badly it hurt. Leo studied Daniel for a beat, then asked, controlled, Then who looks like you on that footage? Daniel's face went still. Then he whispered, My brother. Madison froze. My uncle, she breathed. I don't have an uncle. Daniel's eyes filled with something heavy. You do. I kept him away. Madison's chest tightened. Why? Daniel's voice was rough. Because he's the reason I got pulled into Caleb's orbit in the first place. Madison's stomach dropped. Leo's gaze sharpened. Name. Daniel swallowed. Victor Carter. Madison's breath caught. She stared at her father, the world tilting as a whole hidden branch of her life appeared out of nowhere. Daniel's hands trembled. Victor is charming. He's reckless. He's always chasing shortcuts. Madison's throat tightened. And he looks like you. Daniel nodded, eyes wet. Enough to confuse a camera. Madison's hands went cold. So he could have sent it. Daniel's voice cracked. Yes. Madison's chest tightened with anger that had nowhere to go. Why didn't you tell me you had a brother? Daniel's face crumpled. Because I was ashamed. Because I didn't want you to learn the lesson the hard way, that the people who share your blood can still be dangerous. Madison's eyes stung. Dad. Daniel leaned forward, voice urgent. Madison, listen to me. Caleb is using Victor now. Victor thinks he's in control, but he's not. Caleb will burn him the second he's done. Madison swallowed. Then what do we do? Leo spoke calmly, decisive. We make Victor the weak link. Daniel blinked. What does that mean? Leo's gaze held Madison's. It means we stop running. We set terms. Madison's throat tightened. Terms how? Leo's voice lowered. Caleb wants me to pay what I owe. Fine. Madison's eyes widened. Leo squeezed her hand under the table, subtle. Not money. Madison blinked. Leo continued calm. We give him something else. Daniel's eyes narrowed. Like what? Leo's gaze sharpened. A meeting. Madison's stomach dropped. That's dangerous. Leo's voice stayed even. Only if we do it wrong. Madison's heart hammered. Leo, you promised no drama. Leo's eyes softened slightly. This isn't drama. This is closure. Madison swallowed. And what if Caleb shows up with more threats? Leo's mouth curved faintly. Then he'll show up to a room full of cameras, attorneys, and evidence. Daniel blinked, hope flickering. You can do that? A slow smile touched Leo's mouth. Yes. Madison stared at Leo, torn between fear and trust. Leo looked at her steady. You asked for a life ruled by choice. This is us choosing the ending. Madison's throat tightened. Her father reached across the table, fingers trembling, and took Madison's hand. "I'm sorry," Daniel whispered. "For hiding things. For thinking silence was protection." Madison's eyes filled. "I'm angry," she whispered back. "But I love you." Daniel's eyes squeezed shut for a second. "I love you too." Leo watched the moment with quiet restraint. Then Madison looked at Leo again, breath shaky. "If we do this," she said, "it ends." Leo's gaze held hers. "It ends." Madison swallowed hard. "Okay," she whispered. "Set the meeting." Leo nodded once, then pulled out his phone and typed a single message. Madison watched his screen. "Leo, to Avery. Arrange it. Today, noon. My terms. Cameras, witnesses. Leo. And bring Victor Carter." Madison's pulse spiked. "Today?" Leo's eyes didn't waver. "Today?" Daniel's face went pale. "Victor will run." Leo's voice stayed calm. "Not if Caleb thinks Victor is his proof." Madison's stomach tightened. "And if Caleb refuses?" Leo's mouth curved faintly. "He won't. He already escalated. That means he's desperate." Madison stared out the cafe window at the cold river and tried to steady her breathing. Noon. A meeting. A trap with cameras and attorneys. And somewhere in the middle of it was the man who'd tried to ruin her life with one email. Madison turned back to Leo, voice quiet. "What's the climax you've been keeping from me?" Leo's gaze softened. Warm, honest. He leaned in, close enough that his words were only for her. "The climax," he murmured, "is that Caleb didn't send that email because he wants money." Madison's breath caught. "Then why?" Leo's eyes locked on hers. "Because he wants to force me to choose," Leo said. "My empire, or you." Madison's heart slammed against her ribs, and as Leo's phone buzzed with Avery's reply, "Confirmed. Caleb accepted. Noon." Madison realized the truth with terrifying clarity. The only way this ends cleanly is if Leo chooses her in front of everyone again. And this time, the whole city might be watching. By 11:58 a.m., Madison could hear her heartbeat more clearly than her own thoughts. The conference room Avery Collins chose wasn't flashy. It was clean, bright, and painfully normal. Glass walls, a long table, 2 discrete cameras in the corners, and a small red light on a recorder that was already running. Leo stood beside Madison, calm in a way that didn't feel cold anymore. It felt protective, like he'd decided nothing in this room was allowed to touch her. Avery sat across from them, tablet ready. Grant lingered near the door, polite and silent, the kind of presence that made bad decisions feel expensive. Daniel Carter, Madison's father, sat one chair away from her, hands folded, looking like a man who'd spent years holding his breath and finally couldn't anymore. Madison kept her chin lifted, even when fear tried to creep up her throat. At 12 sharp, the door opened. Caleb Shaw walked in like he owned the air. He was handsome in a way that felt rehearsed. Perfect coat, perfect smile, eyes that didn't soften when they landed on Madison. He brought confidence the way some people brought cologne. Heavy, deliberate, meant to fill the space. And behind him, Victor Carter. Madison's stomach dropped. Victor looked like Daniel with all the warmth removed. Same build, same features, different energy. Where Daniel's face held gentleness, Victor's held hunger. Like he was always trying to win something, even when he didn't know what the prize was. Victor's eyes flicked to Madison. Not guilt, not love, just calculation. Daniel went very still. Madison didn't. She looked Victor in the eye and said, clearly, "So you're real." Victor's mouth twitched like he couldn't decide whether to be offended or impressed. Caleb slid into a chair without being invited. Victor sat beside him. Caleb smiled at Leo like they were old friends. Leo Conti, always dramatic. Leo didn't sit. He stayed standing, and when he spoke, his voice was calm enough to make the room feel smaller. "You sent my board an email with a private image to extort me," Leo said. "That's not drama. That's a felony." Caleb laughed softly. We both know you can make things disappear. Avery's voice cut in, crisp. We've preserved the evidence. Multiple copies. Time-stamped. Verified. The distribution path is documented. Caleb's smile didn't fade. I didn't distribute anything. Your girl did. Madison's chest tightened. Leo's hand moved. Not to grab her, not to control her, just to rest lightly against the back of her chair, steadying her like gravity. Leo's eyes stayed on Caleb. Say her name. Caleb blinked. Excuse me? Leo's tone didn't rise. It got colder. Say her name. You don't get to reduce her to a tool in a room where she's protected. A beat of silence. Caleb's smile hardened. Madison. Madison's spine stayed straight. Yes, that's my name. Try using it like you respect it. Victor made a small sound, almost a scoff. Daniel's voice snapped, sharp with pain. Victor, don't! Victor finally looked at Daniel. Don't what? Don't take opportunities. You loved saying that when we were kids. Madison's stomach twisted at the familiarity she'd never been allowed to know. Leo spoke again, measured. Here are the terms. Caleb leaned back, amused. Terms. I like that. Leo nodded once. Good. Then listen. Avery tapped her tablet. A screen on the wall lit up. A timeline appeared, clean, undeniable. The burner email, the server rental, the prepaid card purchase, the camera footage, the extortion texts, the attempt to approach Madison at the office and event, the forwarded threats. Caleb's smile flickered for the first time. Leo's voice stayed even. You wanted me to pay what I owe. Let's clarify something. He stepped forward a half step. I owe you nothing. Caleb's eyes narrowed. You're going to gamble your reputation on a moral speech? Leo's mouth curved faintly, humorless. No, I'm going to protect my woman and bury your leverage. Madison's breath caught. Caleb's gaze flicked to her, then back to Leo. Your woman? Leo didn't hesitate. Yes. Victor shifted in his seat, suddenly uneasy. Caleb leaned forward. Then choose. You can keep her out of this, or you can keep your empire clean. Madison's stomach dropped, because the trap was exactly what Leo had warned her about. My empire, or you. Leo looked at Madison, and his expression changed, not softer, not weaker, just honest. Then he turned back to Caleb. I choose her, Leo said. The room went quiet. Madison's throat tightened so fast it hurt. Leo continued, voice steady. And because I choose her, you don't get to use her as currency. Not today. Not ever. Caleb's jaw tightened. You're making this personal. Leo nodded once. You made it personal when you involved someone who never consented to your game. Avery's voice followed, sharp and clear. Here is what happens next. You stop contact immediately. You surrender all copies of any private content. You sign a binding agreement acknowledging the extortion attempt and agreeing to non-distribution. You comply, or we proceed with charges and civil action. Caleb sat back, eyes cold. And if I don't? Leo's gaze didn't blink. Then we proceed anyway. Caleb laughed once, but it sounded thinner now. Bold. Leo tilted his head slightly. You assumed I'd hide. You assumed I'd be embarrassed. You assumed shame was stronger than truth. His voice lowered a fraction. You miscalculated. Caleb's eyes flicked to Victor. Tell them. Victor swallowed, suddenly sweaty, suddenly not so confident. Daniel's voice broke, raw. Victor, please, don't destroy her. Victor's mouth opened, then shut again. Madison stared at him. Why did you do it? Victor's eyes snapped to hers. You don't get to ask me anything. Madison's voice stayed calm. I do. Because you used my face, my name, and my life like they were your property. Victor's jaw clenched. Caleb leaned in, warning. Victor. Leo's voice cut clean through the room. Don't tell him what to do. He's not your employee. Caleb's smile came back, forced. He's my partner. Avery tapped her tablet again. Another clip appeared, security footage with audio. Victor's voice. She'll panic, and Conti will fold. He always folds when women get messy. Madison's stomach turned. Daniel's face drained of color. Victor froze. Leo didn't move. He didn't rage. He simply looked at Victor like the truth had removed every mask. Grant's hand casually rested near his own phone. Ready. Avery's voice was crisp. We have more. Caleb's smile finally broke. Turn that off. Caleb snapped. Leo didn't blink. No. Madison's chest tightened as she realized something with sudden clarity. This wasn't about money. This was about control, and it was failing. Victor's hands started to shake. His voice cracked. Okay. I rented the server. I sent the first email. I thought... Caleb snapped. Shut up. Victor flinched. Madison's eyes narrowed. You thought what? Victor's voice came out ugly and desperate. I thought you were lucky. I thought you didn't deserve to be near someone like him when you didn't even know what world you were in. Daniel's breath broke. Victor. Victor's eyes flashed. Don't. You hid me like I was shame. Daniel's voice shook. I hid you because you hurt people. Madison's stomach twisted as the pieces finally clicked into place. Why her father had buried an entire branch of their life. Victor looked at Madison again, and there it was. Envy. Caleb promised me a cut, Victor said. Promised me a job. Promised me I'd finally be... seen. Madison's voice stayed steady. So, you tried to make me small. Victor swallowed. I didn't think it would go this far. Avery's tone was firm. It went that far the moment you sent private content to people who didn't consent to see it. Victor's face went pale. Caleb stood abruptly. We're done here. Grant shifted, just one step toward the door, calm but unyielding. Leo's voice stayed even. Sit down, Caleb. Caleb's eyes flashed. Or what? Leo didn't threaten him with violence. He didn't need to. He simply nodded at the screen. Avery played one more clip. Caleb's voice this time. Tell him I'll send it to his board. Then he'll remember what he owes. Caleb froze. Avery looked at him, unblinking. You walked into a recorded room after committing an extortion attempt. You accepted a meeting with legal counsel present. You're done. Caleb's face tightened into something ugly. Then he did the only thing left when control is gone. He tried to bargain. Fine, Caleb said through his teeth. You want it to stop? Give me the contract and I'll disappear. Leo's gaze held his. No. Caleb's laugh turned sharp. Then I'll ruin her. Madison's blood ran cold. Leo didn't flinch. He turned to Madison and his voice softened. Only for her. Look at me. Madison did. Leo's eyes were steady. You are not ruinable. Madison's throat tightened. Leo turned back to Caleb. If you attempt distribution again, you'll be prosecuted. And you'll lose. Because now we have your confession, your threats, and your intent on record. Avery slid a document across the table. Sign. Caleb stared at it, jaw clenched. Victor stared at it too, like it was a cliff. Daniel looked at Victor, tears in his eyes. Please, do one good thing. Victor's throat bobbed. Then Victor grabbed the pen with shaking hands and signed first. Fast, messy. Avery took it immediately. Caleb's gaze snapped to Victor. You idiot. Victor's voice broke. I'm not going to prison for you. Caleb stood again, furious. Grant moved, quietly positioning himself between Caleb and the door. Not aggressive, just present. Avery's voice was cold. Sign, Mr. Shaw, or we proceed immediately. Caleb's chest rose and fell. His eyes cut to Leo. Pure hatred. Then slowly, he signed. The moment the pen lifted, Avery took the paper and tapped her tablet. Thank you, she said. Now you can leave. Caleb stared. That's it? Leo's voice was calm. That's it. Caleb's smile returned. Thin. This isn't over. Leo's gaze didn't move. It is for her. Caleb's eyes flicked to Madison one last time, trying to unsettle her. Madison held his stare and said quietly, You don't get to scare me anymore, not after today. Caleb's smile faltered, then he walked out. Victor lingered. Daniel stood, shoulders heavy, voice breaking. Victor, I'm sorry I hid you, but I was never wrong to protect her from you. Victor swallowed hard, eyes shiny, and left without another word. The door shut. Silence finally filled the room. Madison realized her hands were shaking. Leo moved closer, not rushing, not crowding, just there. He reached for her hand. Still with me? Leo asked softly. Madison's voice cracked. Yes. Leo exhaled like he'd been holding his breath for days. Good. Daniel stood awkwardly, guilt written all over his face. Madison, I didn't know it would come back like this. Madison looked at her father. The anger was still there, but so was love. I'm angry, she said, voice trembling, but I'm also relieved you told the truth. Daniel's eyes filled. I should have told you years ago. Madison nodded. Yes, you should have. She stepped forward and hugged him anyway. Daniel held her like she was still his little girl. I'm sorry, he whispered. Madison whispered back, I know. Leo didn't interrupt. He didn't rush the moment. He simply waited, like he understood that real love meant letting people heal, not just kissing them until they forgot. When Madison pulled back, she wiped her cheeks quickly, annoyed at herself. Leo's thumb brushed the edge of her hand. Come home, he said. Madison swallowed. Home? Leo's eyes held hers. Where you're safe, where you're chosen, where you don't have to shrink. Madison's breath caught. Then she nodded. Okay. That night, Leo's penthouse felt different. Not because it was luxurious, because it finally felt like it belonged to both of them. Madison stood by the window, city lights reflecting in the glass, her emotions still buzzing. She turned and found Leo watching her. Quiet, steady, like he was afraid one wrong move would break something fragile. Madison lifted a brow. Why are you looking at me like that? Leo's mouth curved faintly. Because you were brave today. Madison huffed. I was terrified. Leo nodded. Both can be true. She walked closer, slow. You chose me. Leo's gaze didn't flinch. Yes. Madison's voice softened. You didn't have to. Leo's voice was simple. I wanted to. Madison swallowed. Say it again. Leo stepped in close enough to warm her skin. I choose you, Leo said, in private, in public, in every room. Madison's eyes stung again. She tried to joke because that was how she survived big feelings. So, should I delete the photo now? Leo's mouth twitched. Absolutely not. Madison laughed. Real laughter, relieved laughter. Leo's hand cupped her cheek. You sent it to hurt a man who didn't deserve you. Madison nodded, quieter now. Yes. Leo's thumb brushed her cheekbone. But you accidentally gave yourself permission to be seen. Madison's breath caught. And you liked it. Leo's eyes warmed. I loved it. Madison blinked. Loved. Leo didn't look away. I'm done pretending that word scares me. Madison's heart thudded. She whispered, then show me. Leo kissed her, slow, warm, unhurried. He didn't take. He chose. And Madison melted into it like she'd been waiting her whole life to be held without shame. Later, when they curled together on the couch with a blanket and the city glowing outside, Madison traced the line of Leo's knuckles and whispered, So what happens now? Leo kissed her forehead. Now we build. Madison's voice was small. And if the world talks? Leo's answer was calm. Let it. Madison smiled into his chest. I can't believe all this started with one petty text. Leo's mouth curved. It started with you remembering you were powerful. Madison's eyes warmed. And you? Leo's voice lowered. It started with me admitting I was already yours. Madison's breath caught. Then she whispered the truth she'd been holding back since Christmas Eve. I want you, not as my boss, not as a fantasy. She lifted her gaze to his, as my forever. Leo's expression changed, something deep and steady settling into place. Good, he murmured. Because that's exactly what I want too. 6 months later, the summer sun poured through the windows of a bright townhouse kitchen, and Madison Carter, now Madison Conti, stood barefoot on cool tile, laughing as she tried to keep two things from burning at once: the coffee and Leo's patience. Leo stood behind her in a t-shirt, sleeves rolled up, looking like a man who used to terrify boardrooms and now got genuinely offended by a whisk that wouldn't cooperate. "Why is it clumping?" Leo asked, glaring at the batter like it had betrayed him. Madison laughed. "Because you're intimidating it." Leo's eyes narrowed. "I do not intimidate food." Madison lifted a brow. "You intimidate air." Leo's mouth twitched. "That's fair." A knock sounded at the front door. Madison wiped her hands and opened it to find her father holding a bakery box and smiling like the weight he'd carried for years had finally lifted. "Peace offering," Daniel said. Madison leaned in and hugged him. "Accepted." Behind him, Avery Collins walked up the path with sunglasses on and a file in her hand. "Before you panic," Avery said, "it's not bad news. It's closure." Madison's pulse jumped anyway. Avery handed her the folder. "Caleb took the plea. Victor is in a rehabilitation program with strict supervision. Restraining orders are permanent. The case is officially closed." Madison stared at the papers for a beat, then exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for half a year. "It's over," she whispered. Leo came to the doorway, took one look at Madison's face, and understood. He wrapped an arm around her waist and kissed her temple. "It's over," he confirmed. Madison leaned into him, smiling through sudden tears. Daniel cleared his throat awkwardly. "So, I brought pastries." Leo nodded once, serious. "Good. Because Madison is not allowed to be stressed and hungry at the same time." Madison laughed. "Since when do you make rules?" Leo's gaze dropped to her in a way that still made her heart flip. "Since you married me," he said calmly. "Now I'm obligated to keep you happy." Madison rolled her eyes. "That's not how obligations work." Leo's mouth curved. "It is in this house." Madison turned her head and looked up at him. "You really did choose me." Leo's gaze softened. "I choose you every day." Madison's smile turned mischievous. "Even on days when I burn your coffee?" Leo leaned down, voice low. "Especially on those days." Madison laughed, and the sound filled the bright kitchen like sunlight. No fear, no shame, no shadows, just love, simple, steady, and chosen out loud. And on the fridge, held up by a magnet shaped like a tiny lighthouse, was a printed photo Madison had finally decided to keep, not the lingerie picture. A candid shot from their wedding day, Madison laughing, Leo looking at her like the rest of the world didn't exist. Under it, written in Leo's neat handwriting, "Look what you lost. Look what I chose." Madison kissed him, smiling against his mouth. Forever had never felt so easy.